Are you afraid of being called selfish? Has someone actually called you selfish? Hi, I'm Dr. Julie, a psychologist and relationship coach, and today I'm going to go over the 5 signs you're selfish and the 5 signs you're not. Now, the problem with telling whether or not you're being selfish or not is because the act of being selfish is part of a balancing act. You have two choices here. You can act in your interest, you can act in someone else's interest, and how you balance that helps determine whether or not you're being selfish. Many of us people pleasers worry whether we have earned the right to be in a relationship, and we believe we have to work at being in the relationship in order to be there, right? Even though we don't need to. So we do this by being agreeable and nurturing and self-sacrificing. And we focus on those all the time. So the opposite of that is like we're going to worry about whether or not we're not focusing on those, right? But you do have to show up in relationships, and you also need to balance your own self-care with that. If you don't balance your own self-care with that, it's a recipe for burnout and exhaustion. We need to take care of ourselves emotionally, physically, cognitively, and spiritually. We don't want to be just checking things off our to-do list. I've gotten busy sometimes, and I've been like, okay, got to get my nails done, got to get this outfit, and then I got to go to the grocery store so I can get home and cook dinner for everybody. And the whole self-care aspect of the getting my nails done and buying a dress kind of gets lost in all of that. You want to be able to listen to yourself so you know what you want and need, and do things that support you and your needs and your self-expression in a way that works for you. Part of the balancing act is learning how to ask for what you need and want, and choosing yourself in a way that balances your needs with the needs of those you are caring about or caring for, right? So here I am telling you that we're going to talk about what's being selfish, and I'm telling you you need to learn how to ask for what you need. That's because when you're a people pleaser, it's a little bit one-sided, or more so one-sided than it should be. But here's the deal. It's a two-way street. You have to be able to tell others what you need for them to be able to care for you, and you have to be able to take care of yourself so you're available to take care of others, right? So how does being selfish play into this? Well, being selfish is a consistent pattern of you choosing yourself above other people. It is not a one-off instance of you putting yourself first. As a people pleaser, I know that you are consistently putting others' needs before yours, so much so that this is likely out of balance for you. This leads other people to expect certain behaviors from you and possibly to call you selfish if you're doing something that's not necessarily what they want you to do. Or at least we're afraid that's going to happen if we do what we want to do, right? So I want to go over the 5 signs that you're being selfish and have you look at whether or not this is really what's going on for you. Number 1 sign you're being selfish is the decisions you make almost always favor you over others. Is that happening? How about number 2? Other people's feelings aren't important to you when you're trying to decide. Do you take other people into account when you're trying to figure out what to do? I bet you do. The 3rd sign you're being selfish. You're neglecting your responsibility to other people at their expense. This one is interesting because I think what happens here is we tend to think that anytime we don't show up and do what we're responsible for, we're being selfish, or other people are going to think poorly of us. And this can show up in the workplace where we work on a team and we're not feeling well. So we call in sick. But we also kind of know that if we call in sick, our coworkers have to pick up the slack. And so we feel like we're doing that at their expense. But you have a responsibility to yourself. If you're sick, you need to call out and take care of yourself. And yes, you are not showing up and taking care of your responsibility at that point in time. But that's a much different scenario than you calling out anytime you don't feel like going to work. Number 4, you manipulate or deceive others for personal gain. There might be some lying going on, some like twisting of the truth a little bit so that you can get your way. And number 5, this one is very parental, I feel like. is you know what's right or good for other people, even if they don't think so. Now, that's fine if you're a parent, but not if you're working with another adult. Other adults get to decide what's good for them, just like you get to decide what's good for you. And you don't justify what's good for them based on what's good for you. Okay, so those are 5 signs you're being selfish. Now, here's a question I've got for you people pleasers out there. Are you secretly afraid that you're doing one of these things without knowing that you're doing it? If so, I want you to take a step back. Think of the last 3 things you did for yourself and ask yourself, was the reason you did them because of any one of those 5 things on that list? Now, you've got a little bit of an advantage here because I know that you've got a pretty loud inner critic. That inner critic, I want you to use your inner critic to employ their critical thinking skills, and I want you to figure out whether or not what you did was done for any of those selfish reasons. Not secretly, but what was your reason? You get to decide, not somebody else. Okay, so that's being selfish. What's not being selfish? Well, not being selfish is you can give without a lot of expectation. And if somebody gives to you, you can receive that gracefully. It's got the two-way street going on here. Number 2, you take care of yourself in a way that works for you. Number 3, you're generous and kind towards other people. Number 4, you can say no for your own self-care needs so as not to overextend yourself. And number 5, you're able to communicate openly with others about your needs and boundaries and listen to them about theirs. If when you look back at those last 3 things you did for yourself, you can find one or more of these 5 things of not being selfish is why you did that, then you weren't being selfish. Remember, you get to decide, because if you let others decide, you're getting a biased response. They have an interest in you taking care of them, and if you're not doing that when they want you to, then they might say you're being selfish. So to help you out on your journey of self-care, I've created a guide, Saying It Right, Your Guide to Confident Communication. It's yours free. The link is in the description. And this is going to really help you learn how to say what you need and how to listen to other people and hear what they need. Remember, this is a balancing act, an act that is harder to navigate when you have a tendency to people please. That makes it even more important to work on, because taking care of others is so natural that you might forget to take care of yourself. That ever happen? And because anything that is not about the other person causes you to worry that you're being selfish. So we need to work on this. It's a two-way street, a balancing act, remember? Because balancing hacks are so difficult to figure out, if you have a question about how to balance things in your life, drop that question in the comments and maybe we can figure it out. Did you get something out of this video? Is there somebody you know who could use this information? Be sure to like the video so others find it and share it with a person you know who needs it. And subscribe to my channel so you continue to get helpful videos like these. Take care and have an amazing week.